Hello and welcome to my July 10th video update. Most of you probably know we live in the eastern part of the United States, and last Wednesday was the 4th of July, our national celebration day. And the week before that we had been watching our 2-year-old, almost 3, and 5-year-old grandchildren. And so we were rather busy, and this is one of those situations where life got in the way. I was hoping to get an episode out last Tuesday, but that didn't happen. So this is that episode that would have been last Tuesday and is now this Tuesday. Okay, so in the fall, my wife and I are heading off again on a trip. This time we're going to Germany. We're going to be spending time in about a week or so in the Nuremberg area in Bavaria, visiting relatives of mine. So I'm at that point again where I'm trying to figure out what am I going to take with me. So now, after having done this several times, lots of times really, but more specifically in the last couple trips where I've really kind of thought about what it is I want to take and make sure I have, I've gotten a better feel for what I actually end up using. And the bottom line of that is I end up using that iPhone 7 Plus most of the time. Now, with any luck, we're going in October, so with any luck, I'll have either one of the new ones or the iPhone 8 with lots of storage capacity, because that's my goal this year. I will even accept a smaller phone just to get the more storage. So that tends to be my go-to camera these days. But I do want to take one of my better cameras with me. Or I shouldn't say one of my better cameras, but a real camera as opposed to a smartphone camera. To that end, I'm debating. I don't usually take my EM1 anymore. It's a little bit bigger than the EM5 Mark II. My M1 Mark I, the first edition of it, is the kind of the Papa Bear of the OM-D Triumvirate. The M5 has a great camera, but it's still a bigger camera, and albeit it's a mirrorless camera, so therefore it's already small. But I've been toying with the idea of just taking my Panasonic GM-5. So this is a tiny camera. It really is. It's if I take this lens off, this is my 12 to 40, my favorite pro lens. So it's a 2.8 across the whole spectrum of 12 to 40, which is really 24 to 80. But this is the Panasonic GM-5. And one of the other lenses I'm pretty sure I'm going to take is this, it's called a lens cap lens. It's a 9mm, so it's wide, really 18mm, but it's wider than what I have on either of the other lenses I'm planning to take. So that's it. And that is a small footprint. I can actually put in my pocket. It'll be the fall, so I'll probably have a jacket, and that makes it even better because then I have a jacket pocket, which is typically roomier. So what I'm trying to decide, do I want to take this or not? And I think I have finally, if I'd have done this last week, I would have been maybe a little bit less sure. But because of what's gone on this past week, I'm even more certain that this is the camera I'm going to take. And why am I going to do that? Because I'm looking for smallness. It is a mirrorless camera. It has the same, I assume it's the same megapixel anyway, 16 megapixel sensor that my EM5 Mark II, which would have been the one I would normally take. It has the same sensor, so it takes great pictures. And I tried this out because I was thinking about this several weeks ago. We went to a little event. I took this camera and this lens, and I didn't use this lens. I used the 12 to 32, which is the kit lens that goes with this. It's really quite a small lens. I think I have it in here. Here it is. So this is the 12 to 32, which, as you can see, is quite a bit smaller than that 12 to 40. And it's a nice little lens, but this one probably is going to stay home. But at any rate, at this preschool graduation ceremony, I had the smaller lens attached to the GM-5, and I was clicking pictures all over the place. I put it in P mode, which I typically do if I'm really just kind of in a hurry and don't want to have to think about what I'm shooting. And I got some great shots, but I had a lot of throwaways. And why did I have a lot of throwaways? Because I was in P mode, and the shutter speed was going, it was inside. And even when it was outside, it was a rainy day. It shows lower shutter speeds, slower shutter speeds, and so therefore I was getting blur. And so that made me sort of question, is this really the camera I want to take with me? Now, where I'm going in Germany, I've been before, and really it's about visiting relatives and not about taking photos necessarily. It's going to be followed by, we're going to go to Barcelona and cruise back to the United States. And I typically don't take a lot of pictures on cruises, just occasional pictures, and the cell phone, really, the smartphone is fine for that. I had figured I better give it another try. So I've been taking it on walks with me, and I've used recently I put the 12 to 40 on here, which gives me low light because of the f2.8 maximum aperture. But this past week we were at a party, a celebration party, and there were a lot of people that I knew. Our son-in-law wanted to, he would want to have pictures of them. And so I put this lens on this camera and I walked around and I took pictures, but I shot in manual mode. So I set the shutter speed to a constant 125 and I altered the ISO and the aperture, being able to go to 2.8. When I was inside, I was usually at 2.8 or 3. Maybe at 4.0. I would up the ISO inside to 1600 because this camera handles 1600 ISO fine. The images I got were fine. I was shooting in RAW plus JPEG. When I offloaded the pictures, and the ones that were rather dark, even though I had the ISO up, I was able to bring out the shadows and lighten them up so that they still are really nice images of the people that I was trying to capture. So that kind of confirmed it for me. This is the camera I'm taking with me on this trip. And why, I'll go back to the question why, and partly is space. It takes up much less space than the EM5, and that gives me a little bit more room. This is not the bag I'll take. Typically what I do is I empty this bag and fold it. It's the Low Pro, I can't remember, I never can remember what the name of it is, something 250. And it folds up flat, and I'll put it in my suitcase, and I'll use this for my day bag, walk around bag. Otherwise, I'll probably take, because I do want to take my new Shuing Crane M gimbal, and I'm going to put that in, so I probably will take my VanQuest Stitch 12, which really will expand. It is medium size to a reasonably good size for accommodating the kinds of things I want to take. I also want to take my, see, I'm trying something else out. Do I really need to take this, which is the monopod with tripod legs, or do I want to take what I'm using today, and that is the handle pod that I have attached to the railing. And that's kind of the reason I'm sitting here on our deck, because I can attach to that railing so easily. And I can attach that to poles, I can attach it to anything. So do I really need to take this? Although it too is compact and will fit nicely, particularly in the Stitch 12. So I probably take both, because I always carry this handle pod with me, but I haven't been using it very much recently. Yet it is a very versatile piece of equipment, as you'll see in the pictures. That plus microphone, I have my, I'm using the Purple Panda lav mic right now with the extension cable, and my recorder. But none of these things are big. I mean, I could possibly take this bag as my main bag, because I'm not going to be taking that much, because the goal is, the purpose of the trip is not photo collecting. So what's it going to be? Well, as I mentioned, I'm going to take this lens cap, 9mm lens cap. It's not a great lens. It's a play lens, but it still gives me that kind of fisheye 18mm look, and it's only f.8, so it's only one aperture. So it's really it's kind of an outdoor or a brightly lit indoor. I probably will not even take my flash. So that gives me a little more space. As I'm getting older, I'm whittling my bag down to less and less, which is a good thing. I envy those of you who are comfortable going on a trip with just your camera and one lens, or maybe two lenses. But I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm working towards it. So I'm taking the 9mm fisheye, the 12 to 40, which is I love this lens. It's an excellent lens. And then the other lens that I have in this little sack is my Panasonic. I'm still consider myself an Olympus guy, but I do have these Panasonic pieces of equipment. So this is the Panasonic 35 to 100, which is an equivalent of 70 to 200. So I have 12 to 40, 35 to 100. So 24 to 80, 70 to 200. So I've got a fairly decent range of focal length in just these three things. But so this is going to be my kit, and this gives me the opportunity to be able to take some faraway shots because 200 millimeter, I mean the equivalent 200 millimeter is a decent focal length. Just to reiterate, the other reason that I'm even considering this is that though it is tiny, and a really small camera, it still has the same sensor, 16 megapixel sensor that the Olympus OM-D E-M5 Mark II has, and the EM1. It is a little more cumbersome to change settings, but I found like this the other day when I was taking these pictures at this celebration party, it wasn't that bad. And it does have a hot shoe, so I can take the little flash that comes with it. And actually, the little flash that comes with this Panasonic is probably sufficient for what I would want to use. A little bit of fill flash, maybe a little bit of bounce because it will turn. That I don't even need to take what I would normally do is the Nissan i40 and use the onboard pop-in flash to fire the off-camera flash. I think it's a winner. And I think that my kit is going to be nice and small and light. So thank you very much for checking in. That's this week's video update. And I'll be back with you next week with, maybe we'll do I haven't really been using the Crane M very much, but I'm going to try to do that this week. We're going to be actually off with our young grandchildren again this week. And I do want to take some photos, and this will be the kit I'll take with me. So we'll see if I maybe can do an update on the Chewing Crane M gimbal for that episode. And we'll see you hopefully next week because we're going to be gone this week. So never can tell. Bye.